Hello, welcome to this session. Mandy here, where we're going to just be demonstrating the new feature in PFM where you can import a spreadsheet that has a list of payments. So this is very much for schools who are part of a trust with a central bank account where the trust makes the payments for you and then gives you that list of the payments that have been made that you simply need to put into PFM for accounting purposes. At the moment you'll probably be doing that manually, but this option enables you to do it automatically through an auto import. There is a set of notes that I very much recommend you print to have with you the first time you do this, and there is a small bit of setup that we must complete. It is a one-off, but it is important to complete that correctly, and so that's what we're going to focus on initially. I'm going to jump into PFM now in order to demonstrate. So here I am in Private Fund Manager. I've got a system set up with a single bank account called SF, School Fund, and I'm here on account maintenance, and as you can see I have a series of short codes, different bits and bobs, with short code accounts and a full name. I also then have a spreadsheet that I've received from Trust. And I'm going to show you a few kind of versions, but this is an example of a spreadsheet which tells us the payments that have been made on our behalf. It says what it's for, so we've got a kind of notes field, we've got a date, we've then got a project code and a project name, which are similar to our Private Fund Manager codes, but they've got some additional text in them, so they don't match exactly, but we should be fine setting the system up. What is important is whatever your spreadsheet looks like, and it really does not matter, we do need to have an amount of money and some way of identifying what the payment is for, so how it links to PFM, and ideally some kind of narrative, a payment date if appropriate. So this is the spreadsheet that we're going to be able to read in. So the important thing is to have this open, because in a minute in Private Fund Manager I have to tell it the columns. I have to say where the date is, where the short code is, where the amount is, etc. So I need to be able to refer to this spreadsheet at all times. So back to Private Fund Manager then. Once we've set this up, it is very straightforward, a press of a button every time. But there is this initial setup to do then, which we do in the Tools menu in a new option, the third one down, which says Read Payment Options. And it pops up this screen, and this is the screen we must fill in all the fields for in order to tell PFM what the spreadsheet looks like, because we want to make sure that you can use any spreadsheet from any trust, any system, so we do have to offer this option. All you do then is start at the top and work your way down. So first of all, what is the target bank account? And you can change it after you've imported, but the target bank account for me is the school fund. If you have multiple ones, pick the appropriate one. Move on. Second section is what are the supplier options? So basically it's saying, is there a supplier name in one of the columns? And if there is, you would tick the box that says my suppliers are in column blah and type the column letter in. If everything on this import is going to one specific supplier, you would tick target supplier and pick your supplier from the pull down list. But I'm just leaving mine as sundry because I've got notes which are going to explain everything I need. Now we're into this middle section then that says row the actual data starts on. Well, I can't remember off the top of my head, so let's jump in and see. So looking at the spreadsheet, the actual data starts here, so that means everything that's not a heading, my actual data is on row 8. So let's hop back. So in this box, the green box, I type in 8. Then it asks me, where are the amounts? What are the columns? And if you've got a system that does credits as a separate column, where are the credits? So I'm looking for the amounts in any credit. And so as we can see, the amounts the debit amounts are in column F, any credits are in G. So we're going to put in F and G. So F for our debits, G for our credits, and then last of all it's asking me where the notes are. I happen to know they're in C. We can go and look there in a sec to confirm that. And then we're into the date section, and it says, do you want all of these payments just to have today's date on, or is there a single cell in which a date is given, or have we got all separate dates and they're given in a specific column? So if I hop back onto my spreadsheet, I think I've got all separate dates. Let's have a look. And so here we are, the dates are in column A. This particular spreadsheet has got a posted date and a document date. It's actually the posted date that I'm going to be interested in. So it's column A for me for dates. So I've ticked the box that says dates are in a column, and I've told it it's column A. Let's keep moving down. The next thing, which is very important of course, is where am I going to find something alluding to a shortcode? And we've got a few options here. We've got somewhere in the data I can match by the short code, or there's no short codes but I have got names, or if we've got neither of those we're going to have to use the option of aliases, which I'm going to cover later on. So let's say that somewhere in that spreadsheet there is a version of the short code. I need to know which column that is in, so let's go and have a look. So what I can see here is that both column D and E, no, it's just column D, has got the short code in there. Admittedly, it's got ITS trips in front of it, but my short codes are there. They're not quite right in column E. They're in some of the entries for column C, but not all. So my best bet is column D then. So I put the D in where I'm going to find the short code, but I need to do one extra thing, which is this concept of match within the text. And what that's saying is it doesn't have to be in column D, my exact short code, as long as it's somewhere within the text. Now if I didn't have short codes, I could go for full name and still do this match within the text concept. Now there is a further option here, which is to do with something called padding. As you can see, we've got removed the padding. So I'm going to hop back to my spreadsheet to explain this. So in this column D, actually it has consistent padding. The padding says ITS, which is Tech Test School, ITS-trips. And so we've got consistent padding in that particular column. So what I could do is say, I'm going to highlight the bit that is padding, the bit that comes before my actual shortcode. I'm just going to copy that. And then back in the Private Fund Manager, I could say remove padding up to the first blah. And that's saying to it then, well, it's being very accurate. It's actually saying, look in column D, and you don't have to just try and match it yourself. I'm telling you to strip off this padding. And you can string together if there are more than one. You can use the little hat and say, also there's some called ITS Rev for revision, or whatever it might be. But my suggestion would be, try it without the padding added on. Try and see if it can match it within the text, because actually that is by far the easiest option. And that's our setup then. We've gone from the top, we've got something selected all the way through, a supplier, all of these boxes have got their letters in, it knows where to find the date, it's going to look in D for my shortcode and it will try and find it within the text. And so that's us done, we can save and close. That's all the setup done. I'll never have to do that again then, unless of course your trust changes the spreadsheet again. But assuming not, this is how we do the import then, very straightforward. We go to transaction entry, we go to payments, Payments, and we choose the new button on the right called Read Payments. And it asks us where to find this spreadsheet that we're working on. So mine was called June 26B. I click on Open, and it has a little think. And as you can see, it has identified all of those 22 lines, and it has put them against the right short code, the right date, and it's brought in the narrative of exactly what those entries are for. It's saying to me, do you want to delete the original file now? I'm just going to say no until I'm absolutely sure it's correct. And so now if I scroll up this list to the top, you can see I've got the Hampton Court, all the Duke of Edinburgh's, including some minuses because there are some Amazon funded credits of some sort, so it will bring in the credits as well. When we're happy that that looks absolutely spot on, we just press save in the usual way and print that document if you wish to, or Excel it and save it. So that brought the spreadsheet directly in because it looked in that column D and it was able to pick out my shortcode exactly. So I'm now going to just give you a couple of examples when it doesn't quite get it right and the reason why and how we can correct that. But in terms of how it works, that is it. That's as simple as it is. You spend a few moments on the setup, everything works beautifully on our first read payments, and from then on you just press the button every time you get a list of payments. So from here on in, it's troubleshooting if it doesn't quite work out. So if you feel happy with what we've done so far, that's great. If you're interested in the troubleshooting, carry on. Okay, so I'm back in private funds. I've just removed the stuff we've previously done. All of the payment options are still in place, so I don't need to worry about any of those. I'm going to read payments now, and I'm going to just read a different spreadsheet. It's very similar but different. And different because it's going to have one of the problems. So what you can see is that nothing has populated my screen, but what you can't see is at the bottom of my screen on the taskbar, the Excel icon is flashing at me, and this is PFM telling me that something is upset. It's upset with something, and as you can see, here we are. It's highlighted some of my cells in red to say these are the ones that it's got a problem with. And if I scroll to the bottom, it tells me what the problem is, and it's saying please add the short code to column E for the red items, save, close and go again. And if I go up to the top, I look at the Hampton Court, and what I see is that that is an incorrect shortcode. My code is not 6 Hampt PT. Let's jump into PFM Account Manager and see what it actually is. It's Hampt 2526. So all I do is find it, copy it, return to the spreadsheet and paste it down. I've also got one here called It's Yummy Dinner Money, which again, there's not a short code in Private Fund Manager. And in actual fact, I don't want it in Private Fund Manager. I don't know why it's on my list, but it's not one I need. And for that, I do not put a short code in. I put the letters IF, which stands for Ignore Forever. And so once I've done this once, it's never going to have a problem with the Yummy Dinner Money again. It will always ignore it. So I need to save that with a different name. I'm going to go for DA. Let's all remember I've done DA. Close it down, back into Private Fund Manager. Let's see if that will read in Transaction Entry Payments. DA. That's the one, thank you. And so let's see if it's going to do it. Yes, this time the whole lot has been read. What you might notice that it is that it read 22 lines but only imported 21 because we are ignoring forever the dinner money. And so this time it has imported properly because I was able to fill in the correct shortcode. Next time I have a spreadsheet with that same incorrect shortcode, PFM now knows about it, so it's not going to worry. So the key takeaway there really is, if it can't sort the import out by itself, PFM will open the spreadsheet you're trying to import. The icon for Excel will flash and it will put a note on telling you what's wrong, and it will highlight in red anything that needs changing. So it will either be shortcodes, or the only other time it has a problem is if when you set it up you tell it the column headers, the column letters or the row numbers, and you've not put the right thing in, and then of course it will be looking in the wrong place for the wrong information. But very straightforward and simple to do. And if for some reason at this point you realise that you don't want this in, maybe you've already imported it once, or there's something you don't want about it, just hit the Del key, the delete key at the top left, press the delete key, and it will take all those payments off for you, so you're now back at the pre-import. One last thing then I want to talk about is, what if there is just no reference to the PFM shortcode or the PFM full name? There's just no PFM identifier at all in your spreadsheet. So here's an example. This is a spreadsheet very similar to the previous ones, except there is no reference to PFM at all. What instead there is this concept of Sage nominal codes. So I've just put them in as Sage 1, Sage 2, etc. And so PFM is just not going to be able to identify for itself which shortcode each of these payments relate to. And so we have to set up something called aliases, which essentially is telling PFM that whenever it sees Sage 001, that actually means the Hampton Court course account. When it says 006, that's the outward bound. Whatever it may be, we need to tell PFM the aliases for these other ledger codes. You can do it two ways. You can do it in advance, where you actually get a list of all your shortcodes and tell PFM the ledger codes that match it in advance, or you can just do it as you go along when you run an import and it flags up a problem. And that's the way I'm going to show how we're going to do it. So let's hop into PFM now. One thing I would just mention, sorry if I go back to that spreadsheet, is obviously I've had to go back in to PFM and tell it the different columns, because now D and E are my values. Now it's going to have to try and find the short code in column C, etc. So I have been into tools and the read payment options, and I've jiggled around with putting the different correct column headers in. So back in transaction entry, payments and payments. Don't forget, it can't do this automatically the first time. As of yet, it doesn't know my aliases. So I click read payments. I choose the top one. It's flashing an Excel to say I've got a problem. As you can see, the whole lot is in red now, and it's saying, please note, add the short code to column D for the red items. So essentially it's not been able to find a proper PFM code in that data at all, and now I have to simply copy and paste from PFM and put the correct short code in. First time, of course, it's a little bit long-winded, but once you've got it set up, it will be very straightforward. So I'm going to do that now. I'm not going to make you watch me just to get the codes in. Okay, so here we are back. I've done exactly as it told me to do. I've put the correct PFM shortcodes in column D. I'm going to save it. It's read only, so I can only use save as. So this time we're on DF, or AF, let's say. Click on save. Back on Private Fund Manager. Let's try again then. Transaction entry, payments, payments. Button on the right to read the payments. It's AF. Brilliant. And this time it has found 18 new lines, 18 new transactions. I say yes. And as you can see then, I've got all of those entries from my spreadsheet, even though there was no reference to the private fund manager code at all, because this first time I've had to create the concept of aliases. So I'm just going to save that a minute. If you want to see that list of aliases, you just go to Tools, Payment Options again, and at the bottom there is a button for the aliases. And so here they all are, the aliases that I have just set up on the system. You can, if you don't like them or you want to change them, you click on them, tick it, and you can delete them, and that alias is gone. Equally, you can see the ones you've ignored forever, which for me is the yummy dinner money. So in summary, it should be really straightforward. You use the tools and the read payment options, whatever your spreadsheet. You set this up once correctly, making sure you get exactly the right column letters and row numbers in the right place. But once you've set it up, from that time on, it's simply payments, click the button on the right hand side and browse anywhere in order to import your payments automatically in a matter of moments. Any queries with any of that, of course, let us know, and I hope you find that useful. Bye bye.